Horror Story Haunted Bridge, author Vu Banjiang. Across the Taibin River, connecting Haiduong City and Nam Sac District, is a bridge, famous for both its scale and its poetic beauty of Vietnam. However, if anyone often passes this bridge, they will notice something special. That is, on the bridge, there are a few pieces of paper money or gold ingots crushed by vehicles. Because the bustling flow of people passing by is because every now and then someone comes here to jump off the bridge. Those people are not necessarily people living around the bridge, but come from all over the province and beyond. It is not clear why, when they think of Quian Cinch, they immediately think of this ancient tree. I don't know if it's because of its poetic beauty or if there's some mystery behind it that no one knows. Because of that, right at the foot of the bridge, there are always rafts, canoes, and a few people who specialize in collecting corpses, especially during the World Cup season. This place becomes even more bustling with the corpse recovery team working day and night and never finishing their work. Around the bridge, there are also many people who have seen strange and unexplainable phantoms. During the day, it's fine. But as soon as night falls, this place becomes desolate and gloomy. When passing by, everyone feels strangely cold. Even those who pass by for the first time. To say that the ones who understand the things here best are the water vendors on both sides. Bridge, even the ladies still remember clearly the day who died, how old, hometown, where. Can tell all in detail. I am from another province. Rarely have the opportunity to go to Haiduo, so I don't know about those things. That day, on a business trip, I happened to pass by this bridge and saw the peacefulness. I deliberately slowed down the speed to be able to see clearly. When I got down to the foot of the bridge, I stopped to go in there to rest and saw that the shop was packed. Luckily, far away at the base of the banyan tree, there was still an empty table. I quietly picked up my suitcase and walked that way. I also didn't forget to order a pack of cigarettes and a glass of iced tea. After that, I kept busy with the laptop in front of me to do a report and enter the data in the work school. Just now when I looked up, I don't know why I saw a very large crowd of people at the water sellers place, their eyes attentively listening to every word she said. At first I didn't pay much attention, but seeing them sitting there for a long time made me curious. I couldn't help but light up a cigarette and pretended to go to that place to ask where the restroom is. "Old man, can I ask where the restroom is?" My unexpected words made everyone look up at me. In those eyes I noticed a little discomfort. I tried to act as natural as possible and then walked in the direction that the old lady pointed. However, I went in there and stood for a while, then came out. This time, I deliberately walked very slowly, without saying anything, to listen to the story the old ladies told. After listening for a while, I began to penetrate the story just like that. I sat there listening. I didn't care that I was sitting on the ground in a very unsightly posture. I listened as if swallowing every word of the old lady. My goosebumps gradually appeared. Although it was daytime, sometimes I still felt a cold feeling on my back, as if someone had applied ice, because the stories the old lady told were also true ghost stories that had happened right at this ancient Korean tree that I had just passed. The first story was about Mr. Cong. He worked as a motorbike taxi driver, so every morning he went to the bus station in the city from when it was still dark until 11 p.m., 12 p.m. He came back. That night, after finishing the trip, finally it was 11:30 p.m. It was raining. when he reached the Han Bridge. Suddenly, Mr. Cong felt a little uncomfortable. Unlike other times, this bridge was very familiar to him. There were even days when he ran back and forth 5 or 6 times. He thought it was probably because the rainwater had soaked into his body and he caught a cold, so he steadily accelerated when he reached the middle of the bridge. Suddenly, he saw a girl. Wearing white clothes, her hands were holding on the bridge railing. He immediately stopped and turned off the engine and slowly walked to the girl, because he thought that this girl was probably planning to jump off the bridge. She was wearing white clothes. From head to toe, her long hair fell down, covering her entire face so he could not see clearly. I don't know why, but the closer he got to the girl, the colder his hair felt and the goosebumps appeared. When he got closer, he softly called out, "Miss, what are you doing here at night? Or do you want to go somewhere? I'll take you." The girl didn't respond, still standing still like a log. It was strange. He went to her. "Miss," Cong kept standing behind, constantly advising, encouraging her because he really didn't know what the girl was going through. He didn't dare get too close, for fear of creating pressure that would push the girl to jump. Besides, he was also afraid that if he stood too close, someone would see and think he pushed the girl off the bridge. Don't deny it. If there were another person here to testify, things would be easier. If so, he could suddenly jump over and grab the girl to stop her. However, it was the middle of the night, it was raining, and there were not many people on the street. His situation was really difficult. He couldn't save her and wanted to go home, but he couldn't. He just stood far away. Occasionally, he shouted back a sentence to advise the girl, hoping that she would change her mind and think of her parents' hard work in raising her. Don't let a little rashness ruin your life. Think carefully out there. There are many people who are more miserable than you, but they still know Vuonglen. Before he could finish his sentence, the girl climbed up the railing and jumped into the river. To his utter panic, he was shocked. He quickly ran back to that place and looked down, but the scene that met his eyes was completely different from what he had thought. Under the light of the high-pressure lamps, the public saw, at this time, that her body was floating on the water surface like a ball. Her long hair was loose. She moved her white eyes toward him, her mouth opened, a smile full of ghosts. Her hand kept waving. Down here, come down here, to play with me." Because he was so scared, the public screamed loudly and ran headfirst toward the motorbike tree. When he had just driven a distance, then right behind him rang out the girl's voice, "Where are you going? In such a hurry? Stay here and play with me. Stay here." Cong startled and turned his head. Looking back, he was so scared that his soul flew up, because at that moment the girl's face was right behind. It was as white as chalk. Her two eyes were all white. Her teeth were black, extremely terrifying because of being too scared. Cong lost control of the car, wobbled and crashed into a tree near the foot of the bridge. The fall was so strong that his whole body was in pain and dizzy, so when he looked around, he couldn't see the girl. He tried to sit up, suppressed the pain, continued to start the engine and drove straight home in tension and fear. When he got home, he came back to his senses and realized that he was still alive. Mr. Cong had to stay home to treat his painful ankle for a whole week, but more importantly, it was to regain his mental state after the shock was too great, even until the following times. Every time he had to cross that bridge, he was still scared and chilled. After telling the story of Mr. Cong, The old lady bent down and took a sip of water. The old lady continued. So do you guys want to drink anything else? So I can get it for you. Several people spoke up one after another. Some ordered a cup of iced tea. Some ordered a pack of cigarettes. Some ordered a plate of sunflower seeds. Although I noticed under their table, those things are still. A few minutes after getting things for everyone finished, the old lady sat down again and began to slowly tell. After the story of Mr. Cong, it was not long before the story of the body recovery team came up. End of part 1. Thanks for listening.
Mẹ chồng nàng dâu được Minh Tuấn biên soạn lại với một số câu từ để gần gũi hơn với thính giả. Cảm ơn quý thính giả đã lắng nghe.